Unlisted videos, insider drops. The only way in is through my private SMS list.
Tonight, the story is no longer just about the attacker, it's about the machine that may have programmed him. After the WHCD assassination attempt, the Trump White House is saying what millions of Americans have known for years. When powerful Democrats, media figures, and online activists spend day after day calling President Trump a dictator, a fascist, and a threat to this country, unstable people can hear that as a call to action. And now newly surfaced archive posts tied to the suspect are pouring gasoline on that argument. The question tonight is simple. Did the left help create the conditions for this violence? Now, this matters to every family watching because political violence does not stay neatly inside Washington. When public figures normalize the idea that President Trump is some monster who must be stopped at all costs, that poison spreads outward into schools and workplaces, neighborhoods, and social media feeds that your kids scroll every day. It teaches people that disagreement is not enough, that opponents are evil, that extreme action is somehow justified. And Karoline Leavitt today put it plainly, enough is enough. She said mentally unstable people can be pushed by years of despicable rhetoric from people in power. She also pointed to a long list of Democrat figures using war language, dictator language, and fear language against President Trump and his administration. That's not harmless hyperbole. That is a cultural accelerant. And if the country refuses to confront that now, then every citizen, every campaign event, and every public gathering becomes more dangerous. Americans deserve debates, not bullets. And President Trump deserves the same basic safety the left so often lectures everybody else about. And while we're talking about the toll constant stress takes on a family, let me share something personal that changed ours. You see, for years, my wife battled chronic pain and anxiety from her diagnosis, and it meant endless doctor visits, treatments that didn't help. And watching her struggle daily, every day, broke my heart. Then Jonathan Otto introduced us to red light therapy, and the difference was incredible. Her pain vanished, her anxiety lifted, and now she's sleeping soundly with real energy and joy again. My own recovery and vitality better than guys half my age. It's been truly life-changing for both of us. Red light therapy is backed by NASA research, FDA cleared, and studies show rapid pain relief and support for recovery. If you want to try what helped our family, go to myredlight.com, use NNN25 for 25% off individual items or NNN30 for 30% off bundles. Now back to the story, because what surfaced next makes the media's denials look even weaker. See, here's the twist the corporate press doesn't want you to touch. This was not some isolated online spiral disconnected from elite messaging. According to archive posts uncovered by Kaneko the Great, the suspect echoed the exact same script pushed by Democrats and legacy media figures for years. From hysterical election takes to Nazi comparisons and total ideological immersion in left-wing narratives. In other words, the slogans did not stay on cable panels and press conferences. They appear to have landed in the mind of somebody who was ready to act. Check out this post. It is absolutely amazing. Kaneko the Great. I found Cole Allen's archived tweets. He predicted Kamala wins all swing states, compared Trump's win to Nazis getting elected, and moved over to Blue Sky. That is the left-wing echo chamber that was created after Elon Musk bought X. The scary part, he retweeted every mainstream Democrat on this platform. What radicalized him were the same talking points repeated every day on the left. Take a look at this. Leaving for bluer skies. As soon as I get my data archive, I don't think there's much reason to be on here anymore. The only thing humorous about America not having learned from Germany about what happens when Nazis get elected is that Russia may not have learned from the USSR about what happens when it makes agreements with Nazis. Based on Iowa predicting that Kamala wins all swing states and at least 3 red states. Just some of the archived tweets there. So the polls point to a guy marinating in the same Trump-hating script pushed by the left every day. Now Karoline Leavitt takes that head-on, naming Democrat officials and arguing this rhetoric is driving unstable people towards violence. This is from the press briefing earlier today.
despicable statements that the American people have been consuming for years. And so many mentally perturbed individuals are led to believe these words are truth and then are inspired to act on it. I have a whole host of examples that we can share with you after. It is pages and pages of major Democrat Party elected officials saying, such as Rep. Hakeem Jeffries just this month said, "We are in an era of maximum warfare everywhere all the time." Governor Josh Shapiro said heads need to roll within the administration. Senator Alex Padilla said people are, quote, dying because of fear and terror caused by the Trump administration. Senator Elizabeth Warren, President Trump is making the country look like a, quote, fascist state. Senator Adam Schiff saying President Trump using a dictator playbook. Senator Ed Markey calling President Trump a dictator, saying that this administration's actions are authoritarianism on steroids. Governor J.B. Pritzker, never before in my life have I called for mass protest disruptions. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. You have Rep. Presley saying, "We'll see you in the streets." Rep. Monica McIver, a Democrat representative on Capitol Hill, "We will not take this shit from Donald Trump. He thinks he's a dictator. We are at war." These are Democrat elected officials calling for war against the President of the United States and his supporters. I could go on, but again, when you have people in positions of power that are saying things like this every single day for years, you are inspiring violence by people who are already mentally ill.
Inspiring violence by people who are already mentally ill. Laying out the rap sheet on the left's war talk, now the White House boils that warning down to 3 words. Enough is enough. Posting this from President Trump, I do think that the hate speech of the Democrats is very dangerous. I really think it's dangerous for this country. Next up, Karoline Leavitt goes further, saying no one has faced more bullets than President Trump, and blaming the nonstop demonization from Democrats and the media.
And while we are blessed to have a fearless president, we should not live in a country where such constant fear of political violence permeates our society every single day. We can and we should have fierce disagreement in this country. As you all know, we disagree often, myself in this role and all of you in the news media. But those disagreements must remain peaceful. Debating, peaceful protesting, and voting are how we need to settle disagreements, not bullets. Nobody in recent years has faced more bullets and more violence than President Trump. This political violence stems from a systemic demonization of him and his supporters by commentators, yes, by elected members of the Democrat Party, and even some in the media. This hateful and constant and violent rhetoric directed at President Trump day after day after day for 11 years has helped to legitimize this violence and bring us to this dark moment. Those who constantly falsely label and slander the president as a fascist, as a threat to democracy, and compare him to Hitler to score political points are fueling this kind of violence. The left-wing cult of hatred against the president and all of those who support him and work for him has gotten multiple people hurt and killed, and it almost did so again this weekend. When you read the manifesto of this shooter, ask yourselves, how different is the rhetoric from this almost assassin than what you read on social media and hear in various forums every single day? The answer, if you're being honest with yourself, is that there is no difference at all. Much of the manifesto of the would-be assassin is indistinguishable from the words that we hear daily from so many. For example, as the First Lady of the United States pointed out this morning, just 2 days prior to the shooting, ABC's late-night host Jimmy Kimmel disgustingly called First Lady Melania Trump an expectant widow. Who in their right minds says a wife would be glowing over the potential murder of her beloved husband? And having experienced what I did with the First Lady on Saturday night, I can tell you that she was anything but that. This kind of rhetoric about the president, the First Lady, and his supporters is completely deranged, and it's unbelievable that the American people are consuming it night after night after night. As President Trump said on Saturday night at this podium, we as Americans must recommit ourselves to resolving our differences peacefully and uniting around the shared values that make our country great. The deranged lies and smears against the president, his family, his supporters have led crazy people to believe crazy things, and they are inspired to commit violence because of those words. It has to stop.
You know, I need to point out, she's like 9 months pregnant. And if you've been following our work here, on Friday, it was supposed to be her last day as the press secretary before she went on maternity leave. And everyone was wishing her well. And then, of course, she goes to the correspondence dinner on Saturday. Everything goes down as it did. And now it's Monday and she's back at the podium. I mean, she's dedicated to her work. We've got her back. And, you know, she's coming out and giving us the facts. That's just how important this is. So after the broadside against the machine smearing Trump and his supporters as real-world example, Harris Faulkner rolls tape on Democrats like Slotkin, Walz, and AOC condemning violence after branding Trump a fascist and a threat to democracy. Check this out.
Tim Walz, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, just a few of the Democrats who put out statements condemning political violence after the shooting. They say it is far too pervasive and has no place in America. Yet, we've heard this from those very Dems.
Is Donald Trump an existential threat to democracy? He is an existential threat to democracy.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said, "No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core." Let that sink in, and don't be a damn bit afraid of saying it, because that's exactly who he is.
An authoritarian, criminal presidency fueled by corruption and bigotry, and an ascendant right-wing extremist movement. Wow. We will send a loud message to President Donald Trump that his authoritarianism is no good here.
Wow. Can you imagine any other country on this planet that has as much freedom of speech as we do in America? Just look at that and look at the hate. But still, we go forward as a nation. Some in the party, though, are taking a stand, a strong one. One Democrat congresswoman posted, quote, "Please stop trying to murder the president." Jason.
How about that set of clips there? The anger, the vile hatred spewing, I mean, from all of their mouths. Thank God President Trump was protected by God yet again. See, that's the real scandal. The White House is not saying heated language automatically creates a criminal. It's saying repeated demonization can radicalize the already unstable, and the evidence is getting harder to dismiss. You saw Leavitt's point. Nobody in recent years has faced more bullets and more violence than President Trump. And then the clip after clip of Democrats, Slotkin, Walz, AOC branding Trump an existential threat, a fascist, and an authoritarian criminal. Oh, they condemn violence after the attack, but many of them helped build the emotional permission structure before it. That is a truth Washington does not want to own. This did not happen in a vacuum. It happened after years of propaganda aimed straight at one man and the movement behind him. So here's the bottom line. The White House Correspondents' Dinner attack was not just a security failure. It was a moral indictment of a political culture that has spent more than a decade trying to turn Donald Trump into something less than human in the minds of his opponents. President Trump keeps fighting for America, and the left keeps proving how dangerous its rhetoric can become when it's repeated without restraint. The White House is right to say enough is enough. And the American people should demand accountability from every Democrat, every pundit, and every outlet that fed this toxic campaign. If you agree that words from people in power can fuel real-world violence, then share this report right now. And comment below with the yes or no. Should Democrats be forced to answer for the rhetoric they used against President Trump? Make sure you text raw feed to 844-840-4963 to beat the algorithm and get direct updates to your phone from me. And check out the Next News merch shelf below this video. Subscribe and keep standing strong for truth, safety, and America first.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now. You know out.